Hello guys, welcome to lesson 23 in my series of tutorials on basic computer programming. In this lesson we're going to be creating a lovely little program that you can see on your screen now. You can't see it all. I'll scroll down so you can just see a little bit more of it. What this program does, I'll just go very slowly so you've got a chance to digest this, but I will go through it a little bit more detail in a few minutes. What this program does, it's a very simple program to generate a random password. If you want a random password for a website or whatever you wish, this one will generate one. Now, it's not a fully featured one that you can commercially buy, but you could adapt it if you wanted to, modify it to whatever you wanted. All this will do is it'll give you random characters, however many characters you want, in both upper, lower and numerical format. You could adapt it to include punctuation if you wished, and you could adapt it to, say, give you perhaps one uppercase letter and one number or whatever you wanted to. But I've not done that in this program. I'm trying to keep things simple for you, because bear in mind that these lessons are for those who are novices or who have had no programming experience, and they're running through the program listings that I do. They're trying to learn the programming, and I try and keep things as simple as I can. Now, this program could be condensed into just a few lines if we really used advanced functions in BASIC, but I wanted to keep the layout as it is so I could explain to you exactly what we're doing, and then you can understand that and put it yourself into more advanced features in the future. Or indeed, if we go on to more advanced functions, then of course you will be able to understand it better and where I'm coming from. Excuse me. So, without further ado, let's first of all see what the program does, shall we? I mean, basically what we're doing here, I'll give it a run and I'll explain as we're going along. So what it's saying here is, how many characters do you need? Okay, so what here, I'm limiting the characters to 30. No particular reason. It's just that I thought 30 was a good enough number. And most people, 30 will be adequate. If you wanted to improve on that, you can adjust the number of characters that you generate. The instructions on how to do that will be in the text, which will be on the site. I'll not go into that here, I don't think, although it's very simple to change. It's not a problem at all. But let's have a look. So we go for 10 characters. So I'll type in 10 characters initially and we'll enter that. And as you can see, here is our password. Capital CG5 small I 426 capital LXE. Now the program does ask if we wish to generate another. Again, I've put no error traps in here, so it's a simple lower or uppercase Y for yes. Anything else will give a no result. So shall we try again? We'll just put a quick Y in there so we can generate another one. And again, it asks you how many characters you need. So let's say we need a password for a different number of letters for a different site. Let's say we need 15 this time. We can enter that in, and as you can see, we've got a huge password, 15 characters long there. If you want to count them, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12 13 14 15, and they are obviously all different. If I went back to 10 just to prove that it does give you a random output. Let's go back to 10 again, shall we, and do that. Oh, I've cocked that one up myself. Never mind. Let's go back and explain the program, and we'll come back to that a little bit later. Okay, so basically the program. What are we doing here? Okay, we're using 3 arrays basically, and we're calling these arrays lower, upper and num. And these represent our lower case characters, our uppercase characters and our numerical characters, i.e. 0 to 9. We've dimensioned up to 30 because that's going to be the maximum length that we're going to allow on this program. We're letting pos, which is short for position, equal to 1. I'll come to that in a little bit later on in the program, explain why we need that, although everything is explained in a little bit more detail in the text, as I said to you. We're letting $y just equal a null character, and we're randomizing the output. Okay, so first of all we print how many characters do you need, and we input into total. So total is the number that we put in there, 10, 15, 12, whatever we want. Okay. Next, we're checking just a quick simple error check to make sure that they haven't put over 30 in. Okay, so as long as it's less than 30, then we'll carry on at line 120 with the rest of the program. If they've put in 31 or whatever, then it comes down and prints out an error message saying sorry, you're limited to 30 characters, try again, and goes back to line 60, and then we'll input the total again. Okay, so assuming that we're less than 30, we come down to the next part of the program. What we're doing here is taking total and we're letting it be equal to the integral part of total. What this means is, if someone entered 5.7, for instance, the integral part of 5.7, the integer part, sorry, 5.7 would be 5, i.e. the whole number of whatever number is typed in. So that's why we're doing that, is to stop us getting an error later on our program if somebody put in 5.7 or 4.3 or whatever. The next line, very similar to the line above, except this time we're taking the absolute value. So this one is covering us for negative numbers, minus numbers. Okay, so if a person put in -5, for instance, absolute value of -5 is 5. It negates the sign on the beginning, whether it's plus or minus. It treats the number as a number. The next line, all we're doing in this one is creating a loop which will go from the number 1 to the number we've got stored in total, i.e. the number of characters we need, which we've put in here. So in our case we had 10 in, so this would go from 1 to 10. The second time we used it, it would go from 1 to 15, so on and so forth. The next line, 150, we are now generating a random number between 1 and 90. We've covered this in the past, so I don't need to explain what the rand function does. We've covered it in the past. And the next line is just checking to make sure that the value of that number that we've put into variable x, we're checking to see if that is less than 65. The reason we're checking that is because we're going to store it into upper. And if you look at the ASCII table, the upper characters go from 65 to 90, so we must have a number that comes between 65 and 90. As we're multiplying by 90, we can't possibly have one bigger, but we can have one smaller. So in effect, we're just taking out any numbers less than 65 here. And it just jumps back and carries on until we get a number that is higher than 65 but less than 90. Then we're putting that number into array upper, position A, which is our loop that we are controlling from here, which gives us what position 1 through to position 10. So we're storing it in there and then looping back to the for statement and going through the statement again. Now basically what we're doing is we're doing that for, in our instance, 10 times for uppercase, and then we repeat that process. Let me just move this down a little bit for you, give you a bit more room there. We repeat the process in this part of the program. It's exactly the same, except that the numbers have changed, both there and there, to correspond to the numbers that we require from the ASCII table, and we put them into lower a, i.e. these numbers will be representative of the ASCII values for the lowercase characters. And then we do exactly the same again. It's the same code again, except that these ones will be representative of the numbers 0 to 9. So at the end of all this, what we've got is we've got 3 arrays, upper, lower and num, each with, in our case, at the first case I run when we had 10, each would have 10 characters in there, and upper would have 10 values that correspond to 10 uppercase letters. The lower would have 10 values that correspond to 10 lowercase values, and the num array would have 10 values that correspond to 10 number values. Okay, let me scroll down a little bit more for you now and we can get the rest of the program in, I think, at that. Yeah, cool. Okay, so with that in situ, what we're going to do now is go through, and this part of the program starts to create the output. So what we're doing here is again 1 to total, creating a loop from 1 to total, because remember we needed well, 10 or whatever characters we needed. Now this one might be a bit of a puzzler to some of you. What we're doing is we're creating another random number this time, only 1 to 3. And the reason we're doing 1 to 3 is because we've got 3 arrays, and I wish to just have a random occurrence of upper, lower and numerical numbers in the output. So in other words, it could be 1 1 3 2 1 1 3 3 2, whatever it may well be. And this random number generator here will take a path depending on what x is equal. It can only be equal to 1, 2 or 3. If it's equal to 1, then what it does, it lets $, which is our temporary storage string that we're going to use, first position, equal characters. Now characters is one you haven't come across. That takes the value in array upper position POS. Remember, POS is 1 set further up there on the first pass, and it would take the first uppercase character, well, value, and create the character from that. So in other words, if the value was 65 in there in upper position 1, then the character that would be produced from that would be the character capital A. That would then be stored into $, first position, and then it couldn't possibly be x, couldn't be possible 2 or 3 because it's already equaled 1. Then what we do down here is let $, which is our output string, A comma A, so in this case on the first run would be 1 to 1, equal $, 1 to 1. So the first character of $, would be your capital A. Then we increase pos by 1 and go back into the loop. Generate another number. So let's say that it was 2 this time. So then what we're looking at here is if x is 2, then we'll let in $, again. We're using $, again, same first position because it's only a temporary storage string, equal whatever characters in the lower array this time at position POS. Remember, POS is 2 now because we've increased it by 1 there. So if the second character in the lower array, if the value in there was, let's say, 102 or whatever it was, then the character that it would return and put into $, would be a lowercase f. And then the same procedure would follow. $, in this case now, because we're on the second loop, 2, position 2 to position 2, would then equal lower f. So far in $, after 2 passes, we would have a capital A and a small f. Then it will just repeat the process again for how many times we put into total, how many characters we required. At the end of this loop, what we do then is print out your password is, and then format it, and then we print $, which is the string that we're creating here, which would create the password for you. We then print a blank line, ask if you wish to generate another password. If you do, we input that into $, and then we check if $, is capital Y or lowercase y. If you do, then it goes to 10. If not, we print end of program, thank you, and end. So I hope you've got all that, guys. It's really quite simple. It's not hard. It looks a lot, but it's just a lot of repetitive code, really. The same stuff, just using different numbers. So what I'm going to do now is run it through for you a couple of times so you can see. And how many characters do you need? Okay, so let's say we want 12 characters this time. And just to show you that it is random, I'll run it twice. Okay, so that's your password, so we'll do another 12. Oh, want to generate another number, I've got to put the Y in there again. Nearly made the same mistake again. And then we'll put 12 in again. And as you can see, we've got, even though we've put the same number of characters in, absolutely, totally random, or it looks random, different passwords there. Okay. Now, do you wish to generate another number? I'll put yes in and go through some error runs with you. Because if I put anything else other than a Y in, either a capital or lowercase y, then the program shuts off. So what I will do is just quickly run through this. How many characters do you need? Okay, so we'll limit this to 30. So if I want to put 31 in there, it should give us an error. And there we go, that's the error. Sorry, you're limited to 30 characters, try again. How many characters do you need? Okay, so if I want to go 6.2, as you can see, it gives me 6 characters. it takes the 6, ignores the point. Anything after the point it ignores. So we've got 6 characters there. We'll go one more. We'll go yes on that. How many characters do you need? This time we'll go -8. I'll enter that. And as you can see, it's taken 8 characters. It's ignored the minus sign. So that's basic error trapping. It does need a bit more error trapping if you wanted to modify it for your own use. But I'll put a no in there. And that's the end of the program. Okay, so hope that's okay for you. The listing of the program is on the site, should you wish to view it, and the full text version's on the site. If you like these tutorials, then please rate and favourite them on the YouTube channel, and please subscribe to our channel. Visit the site also if you don't mind. We've got lots and lots of tutorials on there on all sorts of subjects that I'm sure some of you will find really fascinating, and we add more every day, so please pop along and see us. We'll look forward to seeing you then. Hope you've enjoyed this video. Thanks a lot for watching, and bye for now.